My name is Demetria Miles-McDonald. I'm the founder and CEO of Decide Diversity and the creator of the Table of Diversity. The question that I'm going to answer today is, why did I create the Table of Diversity? So as I've said in a couple of previous videos, I created the Table of Diversity as a way to talk about intersectionality. So way back when I was studying for a PhD in industrial and organizational psychology with a focus in diversity and inclusion. And I would go to, different classes and learn all kinds of things. But, I'd go to one class and we'd talk about women in the workplace. I'd go to another class and we'd talk about, people of color in the workplace. I'd go to another class and we'd talk about people with disabilities, so on and so forth. And I realized that while the conversations were really rich in each of these classes, they weren't as fulfilling as I was expecting for them to be. I wasn't really finding a lane for me to talk about all of me and my experience, because sometimes it was a little different and I didn't quite know where it fit. I didn't know if I could go to the class about women and, also talk about what it meant to be a woman of color. I didn't know if I could go to the people of color class and talk about what it meant to be a woman of color. It was just so confusing as to how I could bring all of me to any of these conversations. So I ended up going to my advisor and said, what am I missing? What is it that I don't understand, or am I just not speaking up? Like, do I just need to speak up and talk about these things? And my advisor said, are you familiar with intersectionality? And I had never heard of that term, prior to my advisor mentioning it to me. And so she was like, I want you to learn as much as you can about it. And as I started learning about intersectionality, while I had never heard of that word, I knew of the concept. Like, I knew that intersectionality was describing what I was feeling. And I had a flurry of emotions. I was excited to finally find a term that described how I felt. I didn't feel like I was crazy, because I knew that if there was a term that meant other people were experiencing what I was feeling. And at the same time, it saddened me that we needed a term to describe this, because there were so many people who were having the same shared experience as me. And as I learned more and started really digging into this concept of intersectionality, I realized that this was the missing piece in the diversity, equity, and inclusion conversations. I knew that the work that we were doing in a business perspective was not thinking about intersectionality in any way, shape, or form. And I knew that was a gap, and one that, might not have meant much back then, but as more and more people and organizations started to do this work around intersectionality or around diversity, equity, and inclusion, I knew that if it wasn't based and built on a foundation of intersectionality, then it was not going to be sustainable. And so that's when I was like, oh my gosh, I've got to tell as many people as I can about intersectionality. And as I started doing so, as I started talking about intersectionality, the people I would try to communicate this to were so confused as to what I was talking about, what I meant. I mean, even just saying the word intersectionality would throw some people off. And I did not do a great job of explaining it. I mean, there were times when I was fumbling over my words and I was just incoherent in trying to explain this concept. So I knew that I wanted a tool. I needed a tool that could easily describe intersectionality for my benefit, but was also easy for people to understand, even if they were not like a DEI expert. I wanted everyone to be able to understand intersectionality in an easy to consume way. And so I recall, really thinking about how I could do this in a way that made sense. And, that's why I created the table of diversity, was to talk about intersectionality. And there have been so many other things that have come from it that I did not anticipate, that I was not counting on, but has been a very pleasant surprise when, thinking about and talking about the table of diversity. But yeah, that's it. Very simple reason for why I created a table of diversity. Like, my goal was not to, take this into different corporations and businesses. My goal was not to have it be in the hands of every single person, who wants to utilize diversity, equity, and inclusion as a way to bring people together and to impact business results. I mean, I really just wanted to talk about this concept of intersectionality as a way to make the things that we're doing more sustainable, and have greater impact in the long run. So if you want your copy of the Table of Diversity, you can get it totally free at tableofdiversity.com. And join me for my next video about all things related to the Table of Diversity. Again, my name is Demetria Miles-McDonald. I'm the founder and CEO of Decide Diversity and the creator of the Table of Diversity. See you soon. Thanks. Bye.